And we're live. Welcome everybody to Adara Live. And today I am here with Celinne DaCosta. She is an amazing woman who I found on Instagram, and I just fell in love with her brand and her message. She's obviously a storyteller, so we had that in common. And I had to bring her on the show because I wanted to know what it was like to travel the world and work at the same time doing what it is that you truly love and you're here to do, your passion and your purpose all in one. So welcome, Celinne.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So tell the folks who may have not met you before a little bit about how you got started and a snippet on that experiment of how this whole thing came to be.
Yes. So present day, I'm a life design and story coach, currently in Bali, hanging out, traveling the world full time, six-figure online business. It's great. But a few years ago, I was actually in corporate New York City, hating my life, stuck behind a cubicle in an advertising agency. And the very short snippet part of this is I had a moment where I just absolutely had it with the really long hours, the crappy pay, and just the fact that I was spending my day just like in this numbing routine, never having any sort of like real human connection with myself or like with other people around me. So I basically snapped and decided that I was gonna give myself 6 months like to just live the life that I wanted. And what I decided to do was pick up my bags, get a one-way ticket, and I did this social experiment in which I circumnavigated the globe by couch surfing, but I never used the website. I used human connections. So essentially, I trotted around the globe for a year, staying in the homes of people who mostly were strangers, who I like met through some sort of connection, like because I started a conversation with them or friends of friends. And I spent a year writing stories about my experiences traveling around the world, about the people I met, about the wisdom that I got from like random everyday people around the planet. And that is how I got started in this career. Grew a following, started writing for a few publications, and how I'm here today. That was a really truncated version.
So how did you get your brave on to be able to take that leap? Because I think a lot of people would fear just the unknown like that, like throwing themselves out there.
So I had this moment where I just remember like I was in a New York City bar and I was talking to my friend and she was asking me the same question. She was like, "Why are you doing this? This is like terrifying. You're putting like your life in danger. Like, why are you doing this?" And this like kind of just like bubbled out of me. I was just like, you know what? I just don't want to spend one more minute of my life living in fear of uncertainty. Like, I'm just done with it. And so it's not about like turning off your fear, but it's more about dialing up your courage because you're going to be scared. And one of the things I realized in this path, going down this path, is that no matter what you do, you're going to be scared of something. It's just a matter of like, are you going to face that fear? Are you going to negotiate with that fear? Or are you going to run away from it? And I was like, okay, I'm scared shitless. I am. But you know what? I know that I'm running towards something that's bigger than myself. And this is my purpose. This is what I love to do. So I have two options. I can hide in my fear and I can just keep doing what I do for, years and years and then one day regret it. Or I can actually face my fear, negotiate with it, be kind to it, and just push past it and actually live a life that I want, that like lights my soul on fire. Those were my options. So I didn't really see an option.
That's so cool. So now you're like 3 years in or whatever, and you're still traveling. You're in Bali this morning. You just literally woke up and here you are. Thank you so much. You look amazing. And now you help other people with their stories. Is that right? With their life design and their storytelling. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So as I began to, create my life just exactly how I wanted it, it's like literally to the T, like waking up when I want to wake up, like doing the sort of work that I want, working with people that I want, and starting to realize how possible it is once you do overcome those fears, once you do overcome these limiting beliefs that we all have. Once I started to see how incredibly possible it was in helping people through it, I realized that this was actually work. Like this was a job. And there's so many people out there who are like, I want more from my life. life. I want to do something more, but I'm stuck and I literally don't know how. I like don't see the next steps. So my role is the sort of work that I do is I help people shift their internal story, the story that they're telling themselves, you know, of like, I can't do this, or like, this is impossible because, or like, I don't know how to do this because. I help them shift that story into like the narrative that they actually want to create in their life. You know, for me, it was like, I want to like roam the globe. I want to travel the world freely, time, location, and financial freedom. And this is like the story I want to live, is one of like joy, where I'm having these genuine connections every day, where I'm doing what I love every day. So I help people shift that narrative. And then the best part is not only internally do I help them shift it, but also like to the world. It's like, what sort of story are you actually telling to the world? And that translates into your brand. It translates into like any publications, like media pitches, anything that you might actually want to get featured in, and sort of like the reality that you want to create for yourself. And then, you know, the last bit is like, how do you design your life despite your circumstances? So I work with several different types of people in different stages of their lives to like really analyze like what sort of life they're living, what they're unhappy with, and how you actually can shift that without having to do something like as extreme as I did, but really like get to the sort of life that you want to live every day with what you have, and how can you push yourself past your comfort zone while also making it realistic. So it's really about life design and storytelling, both internal and like to the external world.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. That's amazing. Yeah, I know there's so I coach women primarily with their businesses, and like really owning their light, and like really owning their brilliance and their gifts and their talents, and stepping forth in the world in that way, in a big way, that they want to create the income and the impact primarily with their message. They have this beautiful message to share, and they get really stuck with like their own self-limiting beliefs and like the negative talk and all that stuff that kind of like drags you down, right? And so you're so right. It's about changing your own story and like creating the one that like you want to live, right? How do you feel too about, so a lot of people, when they talk about storytelling, it's like, what's your one story, or what's your thing, you know, that you kind of capture your audience with? And I don't know how, I'm curious to know what you think about that, because for me, it's like my story keeps changing. It's like, you know, 5 years ago, it was like my trip to Ireland, but now it's like something else, maybe how I bought my first house, or like, how do you stick to one story to like, you know, that's your brand?
Right. So I found that you're totally right. The story does shift because your life shifts. However, I found that and this is actually something that I teach my clients, like the core vision and the values that you have, like they don't shift as much, right? So even though, for example, my story 3 years ago is like, here's this girl who like left everything behind to travel the world and like stay in the homes of strangers. And it was really, really focused on the project that I was doing at the time. Now, obviously, I've built a coaching business. Like this is something that's part of my past. So my story is more like, you know, how I went from a corporate dropout to, you know, a 6-figure business owner who helps people like design the sort of life that they want. So there is a shift, but here's the thing, my values and the vision that I have, which was to really empower people I want to empower people to master the story, to like have these deep connections with their humanity and the humanity of others, and to design life their way. That has not changed from a few years ago. And my core values, which is really like this idea of life design, I absolutely believe that you can live the sort of life that you want if you're willing to put in the effort. Like you can absolutely live the sort of life that you like dream of. I believe in self-discovery. That's a huge value of mine. It's just like, okay, are you willing to look within? Are you actually willing to do the internal work that you need for you to be able to achieve this life? And 3 is really this idea of humanity and like human connection, and the fact that we're all connected. There's something bigger than ourselves here at play. And like, are you willing to actually look a human being in the eye and like listen to their story, and not just like, you know, tell your story, but actually absorb what it is that they have to say and learn from it. So these values are things that have not changed in the past few years. So as I'm shifting my story, the details of my story, you know, in my profile pages or in my pitches or whatever it is that I'm doing that faces the external world, I'm still aligned and really feel strongly about like why I started this in the first place. And this is like so important, is to like understand your why, to understand why you do this. And then the story is allowed to change. And that's the really cool thing. Like our life is a book, and like we're writing the chapters, you know, like my last chapter was like this trip, and this chapter is now, and I don't know what my next chapter will be, but I'm the one that's writing it. I'm not letting someone else write it for me. And that's the really exciting part about this kind of life. Yeah.
You're so my soul sister. You're, like, you're Italian too, right? So that's so fun.
Yeah, I am.
Awesome. Okay, so tell everybody a little bit about this mastermind or this group now that you've formed, just so that we can leave people on that sort of note if they want to get to work with you in some capacity. It sounds like you've created something pretty special.
I'm actually like generally so excited about what I just created. So I've had obviously have like my private coaching, and I've had a lot of people ask me like, how do you do this? How do you do life design? How do I design my life from point A all the way to point Z? And actually like, what are the steps in between? So I created a life design mindset course, which I am launching in just a couple weeks, that will literally walk you through like whatever your intention is, whether it's I want to travel the world, or like I want to save $20,000 this year, or like I want to spend more time with my family, whatever it is that you really, really are yearning to create in your life. There is actually a way for you to take that goal, to set an intention, and step by step actually get to the action part where you're working towards it every day. And I have broken this down into like simple steps that are easy to follow, that are really extremely effective, and will walk somebody through the mindset process of like literally being able to achieve whatever you want. Because the biggest block we have is right here. So to really unblock that and just get people to design their lives and create that transformation that they so desire, that they'll be scrolling down an Instagram feed and be like, I want that person's life. It's like, no, you can have it. Here is how you can do it. So really excited about this course. And it's I think one of the best things I've created to date. So
nice. Okay, well, we'll definitely put the link below when we post this video. I think that would be really special for people to look into that. And also, I love, like, you're a writer, and you've been writing since you were like born, basically. It's first you could put pen to paper, you were like into it. And so I do believe that's like one of your gifts, truly, is to like be able to share someone's story in written form. And I think that's so beautiful that you picked up on that call and you've now created a career out of it. And I think that's exactly what we're asking other people to do, is like really look at what it is that lights them up, that gets them so excited and jazzed to experiment and create, and then go and make a life doing that. You know, whether you want to travel the globe and do some wacky experiment that's so ballsy, like kudos to you, or like, I had my own little, transformation experience when I wanted to follow Gerard Butler. He was in P.S. I Love You. I don't know if you remember that movie, but with Hilary Swank. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so meant to be with this guy. And it was like a guy like that in Ireland. And so I literally like had like $900 to my name, and I booked a one-way ticket to Dublin. And I got there, and all the guys were like, needed some real serious dental work, wore tracksuits, and like all drank way too much. And I was like, this is not Gerard Butler. And then everyone was like, he's from Scotland, so you totally have the wrong country. And I was like, okay. So then, just sticking it out. That was my 27-year-old self. Just,
amazing. Yeah. No, like, kudos. That's what I'm talking about. That's like going after what you want. You probably now have an idea of what you don't want, though, which is really important.
It's really important. People don't get that either. It's important. Yeah, you have to know what you don't want to get to where you do want. Absolutely.
For sure.
Well, it was such a pleasure talking with you. And I think what you are doing in the world is so amazing. And you're still like, you're just getting started. You're like a little spring chicken. Like you literally just woke up and you were like, boom, 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 point, point, point. So I'm excited to see you as you Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. And if any of your followers want to follow me along on my social media, my handle on everything is at Celinne DaCosta, the way that my name, I'm guessing, is going to be spelled in the description. So, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, girl. Well, thank you so very much. Thanks for watching, everybody. And if you have any other questions for her, reach out. She's totally there for you. Let her help you tell your story. Yeah, very cool.
All right. Bye.